Welcome to the deep dive. We're your shortcut to, well, getting past the noise and really understanding the important stuff. Today we're diving into something almost everyone feels at some point, work-related stress and anxiety. It's everywhere, isn't it?
Mm.
And it really hits our health, both mental and physical. Plus, it makes it hard to actually do well at work.
Yeah,
And let's be real, those quick tips you see everywhere, they often don't quite cut it.
exactly. They feel like band-aids, right? What you're probably looking for are real strategies, things backed by science. So this deep dive, it's designed to give you just that evidence-based methods, ways to regulate that stress and anxiety. We're talking before work, during the day, and how to recover afterwards. And we'll even get into the tougher stuff, like, dealing with really high-stakes challenges, toxic workplaces, maybe poor management.
Right. Our mission here is to pull out the most useful nuggets from the research, the things that can help you build sustainable psychological health. We're aiming for this sort of dynamic system where your well-being, your routines, even how you assert yourself professionally, it all kind of works together. So where should we start? How do we unpack all this?
I think we have to start with a really key distinction. Something people often mix up, that's the difference between just everyday stress and something more serious, like burnout.
Okay.
Stress, it's that immediate thing, an acute reaction, like you've got a tight deadline or maybe a difficult conversation coming up. It's your body's fight or flight response kicking in. You feel overwhelmed, sure, your mind might race, you feel tired, but deep down you still feel like you can handle it. You're engaged, just stretched thin.
Yeah, I definitely know that feeling, pushing through it, even when it's uncomfortable. So burnout, when
Yep.
does it cross that line?
Burnout is. It's a different beast altogether. It comes from prolonged, unmanaged chronic stress. Especially when you feel both overwhelmed and undervalued, that combination is potent. The research points to three main things. First, just profound exhaustion, like your energy is completely depleted. Second, this increased mental distance from your job. You might feel cynical, detached. And third, a reduced sense of professional efficacy, like you're not effective anymore.
Wow.
So, unlike stress, where you're still kind of in it, burnout leaves you feeling empty, emotionally drained, disconnected. You often lose interest in things you used to care about at work.
That's a really important difference to nail down. It helps you figure out what you're actually dealing with and the science behind why it feels so physical, so visceral. That's pretty fascinating too, right?
No, absolutely. Understanding the neurobiology, what's happening in your brain and body, helps make sense of why certain strategies work. Our main stress response system is the HPA axis, hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis.
Okay, the HPA axis.
Right. When your brain perceives a stressor could be anything, an angry email, a big presentation, this axis gets triggered and it releases cortisol. That's our main stress hormone. Cortisol mobilizes energy for that fight or flight response, increases heart rate, blood pressure, blood sugar, readying you for action.
Which is great if you need to, run from a tiger.
Mm.
But what about when the threat is just a constantly pinging inbox?
Exactly your point. When that stress is psychological and prolonged, the HPA axis stays overactive, you get chronically high cortisol levels. And that's actually damaging to brain function over time.
How so? What parts of the brain are affected?
Well, several key areas take a hit. The amygdala, that's like our brain's fear center, becomes hyperactive, so you get exaggerated fear, more anxiety.
Makes sense.
Then there's the prefrontal cortex, or PFC. That's crucial for things like emotional regulation, decision-making, impulse control. Under chronic stress, the PFC becomes underactive.
It's a little less control.
Precisely. It struggles to regulate that hyperactive amygdala, so the fear signals kind of run rampant. They go unchecked.
So our brains are literally fighting to keep things balanced under pressure,
Yeah.
making us feel more anxious and less able to cope.
In a nutshell, yes. And even the hippocampus, which is vital for memory and learning, is negatively affected by too much cortisol. That's why you might feel forgetful or have brain fog when stressed.
Okay, but here's the good news part, right? We can actually do things about this.
Yes, that's the empowering part. Our choices, our behaviors, they can directly influence this brain chemistry and even structure. Take physical activity. It's not just about feel-good endorphins. It can actually boost something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
BDNF.
Yeah, it helps support the growth of new brain connections, basically helps make your brain more resilient. And mindfulness meditation, practiced regularly, it strengthens that prefrontal cortex.
Giving it more power to regulate the amygdala.
Exactly. It helps decondition those automatic reflexive fear reactions. Even something simple like having a good laugh can literally fire up and then cool down your stress response system, changing your neurochemistry almost instantly.
So these aren't just like nice ideas, they're actual evidence-based interventions targeting the brain's stress pathways. Which brings us neatly to evidence-based practice, or EBP. What does that mean in this context?
Good question. EBP basically means that the recommendations we're talking about aren't just someone's opinion or, an anecdote. They come from integrating solid research findings, like from peer-reviewed studies with clinical expertise, and importantly, with your own individual needs and values.
So it's not rigid.
Not at all. It's flexible. It ensures the strategies are scientifically sound, but also adaptable to you.
Okay, that makes sense. So with that scientific grounding, let's talk about those core strategies, the universal pillars for managing stress.
Right. Let's start with the absolute non-negotiables, the mind-body connection fundamentals. First up, physical activity. We touched on it, but it's such a powerful stress reliever. Beyond endorphins and BDNF, regular movement helps regulate cortisol and improve sleep. Consistency is really the key here, more than intensity.
So not necessarily training for a marathon.
No, not at all. Think like a brisk 15-20-minute walk daily, or maybe some gardening, swimming, a bit of lightweight training, just moving your body regularly.
It's amazing how we let those basics slide when we're stressed, isn't it?
Yeah.
What about food and drink?
Absolutely crucial. Stress affects our digestion and our energy levels. Balanced meals, trying not to skip meals, having healthy snacks on hand. It all helps keep your blood sugar stable. Avoid those energy crashes that can feel a lot like anxiety.
Right.
And be mindful of caffeine and alcohol. Too much can definitely worsen anxiety or even trigger panic for some people. Oh, and water. Simple hydration. Dehydration can actually increase cortisol and make it harder to think clearly. Don't forget that one.
Okay, basics covered.
Yeah.
Move, eat well, hydrate. What about sleep?
Yeah.
That's usually the first thing to go for me when work gets crazy.
It's so common, but sleep is critical. It's when your brain and body recharge and repair. Aim for that 7 to 9 hour window if you can. When you're sleep deprived, your amygdala gets much more reactive and your PFC is less effective at calming it down. You're just more vulnerable to stress.
So good sleep hygiene is essential.
Definitely. Cool, dark, quiet room. Try to put away screens an hour before bed. The blue light messes with melatonin. And a regular sleep schedule, even on weekends, helps regulate your body clock.
Okay, let's shift gears to the mental side. Cognitive and emotional techniques. Mindfulness and meditation always come up.
And for very good reason. Mindfulness is essentially about paying attention to the present moment on purpose without judging it. It helps quiet those racing thoughts, that mental chatter that fuels stress. It helps you disarm the struggle with unwanted feelings.
How does it do that neurologically?
Remember how we talked about strengthening the prefrontal cortex? Mindfulness practice does exactly that. It enhances the PSC's ability to regulate the amygdala. Techniques like body scans, gentle mindful movement, or just focusing on your breath, even using free apps or podcasts can make a big difference.
I like that idea of disarming the struggle rather than fighting thoughts. And for quick relief, breathing techniques.
They're like a direct line to your nervous system's calm down button. Deep, slow breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system. This directly counteracts the fight or flight stress response from the HPA axis.
Any specific technique you'd recommend?
Box breathing is fantastic. It's simple and effective. You inhale slowly for a count of 4, hold your breath gently for 4, exhale slowly for 4, and hold again for 4. Repeat a few times. It really helps lower stress hormones and brings you back to a state of calm pretty quickly.
Okay, box breathing. Got it. What about principles from cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT? Can we apply those ourselves?
Absolutely. CBT is great at helping us identify and challenge unhelpful thinking patterns that fuel stress and anxiety. Things like catastrophizing, assuming the worst possible outcome, or all or nothing thinking, seeing things in black and white.
So just noticing those thoughts.
Noticing and labeling them is the first step. Like, there's that catastrophizing thought again. That creates some mental distance. CBT also encourages acknowledging what you can't control and working towards accepting uncertainty. That's a huge anxiety reducer right there.
Makes sense. We also need other people, right? Social connection, creative outlets.
Hugely important. We're social creatures. Connecting with supportive friends or family gives you perspective, distraction, and just that feeling of not being alone. Engaging with a community outside of work can also be really fulfilling and buffer work stress.
And creativity. Does that help too?
Definitely. Creative expression, whether it's listening to music, gardening, sketching, journaling, whatever works for you, provides a mental break and can lessen tension. Even humor. A good laugh causes positive physical changes like relaxing muscles and boosting your immune system.
What's really striking is how all these things work together. It's not just pick one, right?
Exactly. They have a synergistic effect. They boost each other. Think about going for a mindful walk in nature. You're getting physical activity, maybe a micro break from work, psychological detachment, and you're practicing a cognitive technique all at once.
So integrating these creates a much stronger defense against stress.
Precisely. You're building a more robust, interconnected system for well-being.
Okay, so let's take this holistic idea and apply it to the structure of a workday. Thinking about it in phases before, during, and after work, like creating a psychological ecosystem for the day.
I love that framing. Let's start with the before work ritual. How you start your day matters immensely. Try a mindful awakening. Instead of grabbing your phone first thing, which often floods you with cortisol, just take a few deep breaths. Maybe set a simple, calming intention for the day.
That sounds difficult, but worthwhile. What about timing?
Even waking up just 15, 30 minutes earlier than you absolutely have to can make a world of difference. It gives you that buffer for self-care, avoiding that frantic rush out the door.
Creating space. I like that. Any other tips for morning prep?
Small things can help. Simple tasks like making your bed give you an early win, a sense of accomplishment. Maybe a quiet cup of tea or coffee, not rushed. A short walk if you can manage it. And think about your commute. Can you use it as a positive transition? Maybe listen to uplifting music or an engaging podcast rather than stressing about the day ahead.
And you mentioned intention setting. How does that work?
It's about consciously deciding how you want to approach your day. Set one or two clear intentions, like today I intend to stay focused during meetings, or I intend to take my scheduled breaks.
Why?
You can even visualize having a successful, calm day. It sounds a bit woo, but it actually helps prime your brain for positive engagement and builds confidence.
Okay, so that sets us up well. Now, what about during the workday? Those in-the-moment strategies when things get hectic? Micro breaks seem key.
Absolutely essential. Our brains aren't built for hours of nonstop focus. Short, frequent breaks, even just 30 seconds to 5 minutes, are crucial. They help lower cortisol, activate that calming parasympathetic system, and actually restore your ability to concentrate.
What kind of micro breaks work best?
Anything that shifts your focus. Maybe that 4, 7, 8 breath we talked about. A quick sensory scan. Just notice 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can feel. Or just stand up, stretch, walk to get some water. These aren't slacking off, they're necessary resets for your brain and nervous system.
Little resets, big impact. Makes sense. What about managing the actual work, the tasks? That can be a huge source of stress.
Gaining a sense of control over your workload is massive, so task management is key. Take time to organize your day, prioritize ruthlessly what really needs to get done. Break big projects down into smaller, less daunting steps.
Any specific techniques?
The Pomodoro technique is popular for a reason. You work in focused bursts, say 25 minutes, then take a short 5-minute break. Repeat. It helps maintain focus and prevents that feeling of overwhelm. And don't forget, basic in-shift self-care. Stay hydrated, actually step away from your desk for lunch, move around periodically.
Okay, so we've navigated the day. Now, the crucial after-work recovery phase. This is about preventing that stress from spilling over and setting up for the next day, right?
Exactly. This phase is all about psychological detachment. That means mentally switching off from work thoughts and activities when you're not working. The research is really clear on this. Good detachment leads to less exhaustion, higher life satisfaction, and much better sleep.
How do you actually do that, though?
Yeah.
Especially when your mind is still buzzing.
Creating a specific work shutdown ritual can be incredibly helpful. It signals to your brain that the workday is officially over. This could involve things like clearing your physical desk, closing work tabs on your computer, quickly reviewing what you accomplished, and maybe jotting down the top 1 to 2 priorities for tomorrow. That helps get it out of your head.
Putting a boundary around the workday.
Yes. And that leads to the unplugging mandate. This is tough for many, but so important. Establish clear boundaries around communication. Maybe no checking work email after a certain time. Have designated device-free periods in the evening to connect with family or pursue hobbies.
Taking back control of your off hours.
Precisely. It allows for genuine rejuvenation, letting that prefrontal cortex really recover. And see how these phases connect. Good after-work detachment leads to better sleep, which helps you start the next morning feeling more prepared and less stressed. It's a positive feedback loop.
It really is an ecosystem. Okay, now let's shift gears again. This is where things get maybe even more challenging. What about when the stress isn't just the workload, but the environment itself? We're talking toxic workplaces, difficult bosses.
Right. When the problem is more systemic, your strategies need to adapt. You move beyond just internal coping. First step is to clearly identify and assess the problem. What makes an environment toxic? Often it's things like constantly excessive workloads, unclear expectations, a lack of boundaries being respected, maybe micromanagement, fear-based leadership styles, or a real lack of transparency.
And poor management.
That often shows up as, yeah, unclear communication, setting totally unrealistic expectations, maybe being overly critical or punitive, not providing support. These things create chronic stress, not just occasional stress.
So if you're in that situation, what's the approach? It sounds like communication becomes even more critical, but maybe in a different way.
Exactly. Strategic communication and boundary setting become essential tools for regaining some control. Assertiveness is key here.
Assertiveness.
Mhm.
Can you define that a bit more? It's not aggressiveness, right?
Definitely not. Assertiveness is expressing your own needs, opinions, and feelings honestly and directly, but while respecting the other person. It's that healthy middle ground between being passive, letting things happen to you, and aggressive, attacking the other person.
Okay, so how do you communicate assertively in a tough situation?
One powerful technique is using I statements. Frame things around your experience and feelings. So instead of saying, you always change deadlines last minute, which is accusatory.
Right, puts
Yep.
them on the defensive.
Yeah. Try something like, I feel concerned about meeting the project goals when deadlines change unexpectedly. Could we discuss how to manage that? It focuses on the issue and your feeling, inviting collaboration.
That's a subtle but really important shift. What else?
Active listening is also crucial, even if you disagree with the person. Really try to understand their perspective. Ask open-ended questions. Paraphrase what you think they're saying. So, if I understand correctly, you're concerned about X. It builds trust, or at least clarifies misunderstandings. And boundary setting is fundamental. Be clear, calm, and consistent about what's acceptable. This might mean clarifying work hours or politely declining unreasonable requests by explaining your current workload capacity.
What about dealing with, say, a micromanager?
That's a common one. With micromanagers, sometimes being proactive with communication can help. Offer regular, concise updates before they ask. This can build their trust that things are under control and reduce their need to constantly check in. Communicate your capacity clearly.
Okay, but what if you try these things, assertive communication, setting boundaries, and it just doesn't work? Or the situation is too severe?
Then you might need to consider escalation or seeking further support. Documentation becomes really important here.
Documentation, like keeping notes.
Yes. Keep a factual, unemotional log of specific incidents. Dates, times, what happened, who was involved, the impact it had. Keep it private. This isn't about gossip, it's about having objective evidence if you need to demonstrate a pattern of behavior.
Okay, so you have your documentation. What's the next step? HR.
It could be. If direct conversation hasn't worked or isn't safe, you might schedule a meeting with your manager's boss or with HR. Prepare carefully. Have your documented examples ready. Go in with a clear agenda, focusing on the issues and their impact, and ideally suggest potential solutions. Stay calm and professional. Avoid making it purely personal accusations.
What's HR's role usually?
Remember, HR typically advocates for both the employee and the organization. They aim for compliance and resolution, but they aren't solely your personal advocate. Still, they can be a valuable resource for mediation or formal processes.
And if even that doesn't resolve things or the toll is just too high?
Then seeking external support is a very valid step. Talking to a therapist or psychologist can provide coping strategies, an objective perspective, and support your decision-making process. And honestly, sometimes the reality is that a situation is truly toxic and unlikely to change significantly.
The exit strategy.
Yes. Sometimes the most assertive and self-caring action is to recognize that leaving is the best option for your health and well-being. That involves carefully planning your exit and looking for a role that's a better fit. These strategies, moving from internal coping to external action, are about restoring your sense of agency when you're facing systemic problems.
This is incredibly helpful, practical advice for navigating really difficult work dynamics. It's about taking back some control. And for anyone listening who feels like they've tried so many things and they're still stuck in that cycle of stress, anxiety, or burnout, professional support really can be a game changer.
Absolutely. And that's where a practice like Edward Jenny and Associates can be incredibly valuable. They offer psychotherapy, but also something called collaborative assessment. Their whole aim is to get to the root of your issues faster to help you make real, lasting changes in how you live.
Collaborative assessment.
Mhm.
What does that involve?
It means they use sophisticated psychological assessments, but not just as a one-off diagnostic tool. They integrate the findings directly into the therapy process. It's a way to gain deeper insight collaboratively into maybe why certain behavioral triggers exist or why relationship patterns keep repeating. It helps you understand how your symptoms or traits developed, maybe even how they were adaptive at one point.
So the assessment itself becomes part of the therapy.
Exactly. They might even connect assessment results to what's happening for you right now in therapy. Like, that sounds like your scale 4 on the MMPI showing up again. It helps build self-awareness and curiosity. It's grounded in science, focused on healing.
That sounds like a really unique and powerful approach. It's about feeling truly understood, isn't it?
Yes, and the research consistently shows that feeling understood by your therapist is one of the biggest predictors of successful therapy. Edward Jenny and Associates really prioritizes that. They offer comprehensive services for adults, couples, college students, even teens 14 and up. And they specialize in many of the issues we've discussed today: stress and burnout, anxiety, relationship challenges, trauma, PTSD.
What else makes them stand out?
Well, they leverage the collective experience of their whole team to ensure you get the best treatment approach. They provide guidance and accountability. They really believe that combining therapy with assessment insight is often the safest and fastest way to move forward.
Practically speaking, sessions.
They offer both in-person sessions and online therapy across Pennsylvania, making it accessible. Their goal is really to help you see your best future more clearly.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize this. We've covered a lot.
Sure.
From foundational self-care, sleep, nutrition, movement, to specific cognitive and emotional tools like mindfulness and challenging thought patterns.
Right. And then applying those within a structured daily routine before, during, and after work, creating that protective ecosystem.
And finally, those strategic interpersonal actions for tackling tougher situations like toxic environments, focusing on assertiveness, boundaries, and knowing when to seek help or even plan an exit.
The key takeaway really is that resilience isn't something you either have or don't have. It's a skill, or rather a set of skills that you can actively cultivate.
And maybe a final thought to leave our listeners with. How might embracing these principles change things beyond just work stress?
Well, think about it. Learning to manage your internal state, communicate assertively, set boundaries, understand your own patterns. These skills aren't just for the office. They can fundamentally shift how you approach challenges and relationships in all areas of your life. It empowers you to navigate difficulties everywhere with hopefully greater clarity, confidence, and control.
That's a powerful thought indeed. So if you are struggling with persistent work stress or anxiety, if you feel stuck even after trying things on your own, remember professional support can make a huge difference. Edward Jenny and Associates offers that scientifically grounded collaborative approach we talked about, designed to help you gain deeper insight and move forward effectively. You can reach out to them for a free consultation to see if their psychotherapy and collaborative assessment approach feels right for you, to help you, as they say, see your best future more clearly. Check out their website or give them a call to request an appointment. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope this gives you some practical tools and insights to take charge of your well-being at work and beyond.